For as long as command control has been around in 3-row OE scale, there's been a debate over which one's better, Lionel Legacy or DCS by MTH. But what if I were to tell you there was a new kid on the block that could change everything? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Johnny and I'm super excited to show you this little guy right here. This is a Southern Pacific Class M6 Mogul by 3rd Rail. As you can see, it's a fantastic little model and the details are super impressive. Not to mention it's a great runner and a pretty solid model overall. This little guy is quite the looker and is your average run-of-the-mill 3rd Rail brass steam locomotive. However, looks can be deceiving. On the outside, it may be a beautifully detailed Southern Pacific model of the M6. But on the inside, it's hiding a completely different world of command control, not to mention a huge collection of custom sounds. No, this engine doesn't have Legacy or ERR or TMCC, nor does it have MTH Protosound 2 or Protosound 3. This engine actually has DCC. Okay, alright, that's enough, sit down! Hey, you put that down, that thing's an antique! Now, I know talking about DCC can be a little bit taboo when it comes to 3-row OE scale. If you're a die-hard Lionel or MTH fan, I can understand why. DCC tends to be associated with the smaller scales, such as HO or N, and if you're not familiar with the world of CV codes and functions, that might scare you. Coupled with the fact it's an entirely new command control system, it can be a little bit intimidating. Considering the fact that we've been spoiled by larger speakers that can convey bassy whistles and growling prime movers, it's easy to be skeptical. However, if you're willing to give DCC a chance, you might be impressed by what it has to offer. The amount of configuration and all the features that comes with DCC might give Lionel Legacy and DCS a run for its money. Over the past few months, my buddy Sid from Sid's Trains and I have been exploring a new product released by Soundtrax called Blunami. Blunami is an awesome new product that is a DCC decoder that is controlled via Bluetooth on an app on your phone. This is a huge game changer for the OE scale industry because it allows us to have full access to DCC-equipped engines without having to invest in new hardware or learn a new control system. What really impresses me with Blunami though is actually how easy to use and accessible the app really is. As mentioned before, configuration variables or CVs can be pretty intimidating to somebody who's not familiar with them. CVs are basically like settings in your locomotive that you can change to fit your desired needs. For example, there's a number or a CV that represents your whistle. Let's say you want to change the type of whistle. What you would do is you would hunt down the CV that represents that whistle and change it from, let's say, 1, which is the default, or to 5, another alternative whistle that comes with the decoder. Rather than having to have a piece of paper next to you while running trains to memorize the individual CVs, the app gets rid of that hassle entirely. The Blunami app allows for you to not have to memorize CVs and just focus on running your trains. If you want to change a setting on your locomotive, you just pull up the app, find the setting that you want to change, click the drop down, find the setting you want to change it to, and it changes it in real time. How cool is that? Let's say I want to change the whistle on my Mogul. How do I go about doing that? Well, right now it's got a pretty good whistle. Let's just give it a listen. Pretty cool sounding, but let's change that. If I want to do that, I would go down to my gear icon, click on my sound settings, go to my main sounds, go down to my whistle, click the drop down, and as you can see, there's quite a lot of selections that we can choose from. So let's go down to this K37 number 497 5 chime. Let's tap on it, and if we go back to our controls, this changes in real time. So if I hit the whistle now, pretty cool sounding whistle. I'm pretty happy with that. Speaking of whistles, the amount of sounds and customization that can come out of these decoders is insane. Now, by comparison, in 3-Rail, we have Lionel's new 5 bells and 5 whistles system, which isn't half bad. With 5 whistles, you're bound to find one that you like that you can use in your engine. But what if you're a little bit particular about your sounds? If you don't have a whistle you like, you're kind of stuck with what you got, or maybe you do like a whistle. Lionel's been kind of reusing them a little bit recently, so they might get a little bit bland and repetitive after a while. By comparison, MTH does offer a solution to this issue. If you don't like the sounds in an MTH engine, what you can do is go on their website, download a new sound file, hook up your TIU from your layout to your computer, and upload the new file to your engine directly through there. Though I will say the change isn't instantaneous, it can often take up between 10 minutes to an hour or more, so it's definitely not an instant change. How the f am I supposed to wait a negative amount of time? And don't even get me started on trying to pull a file from an MTH engine. Loading MTH files can be an absolute pain. However, there is an upside that I didn't mention quite yet, and that is the world of custom MTH files. Some of the younger guys in the community have been really experimenting with this, and they can be pretty impressive when you see what they can load into an existing MTH file. I've got a couple of my own, and they really can bring an engine to life. Though I will say it can be a little bit challenging if you're not familiar with the process of uploading a file, or if you don't know how to build the file yourself. That's why I recommend going to people who have already done it and offer that as a service, for example, like my buddy Isaac at Everyday on Instagram. So if that is something that interests you, definitely give him a check out on Instagram. When it comes to sound customization, there are some pros and cons to both systems. When it comes to Legacy and DCS, you're basically stuck with either what you get from the factory, or asking someone else who has experience in doing that to do it for you. But Blunami takes that idea and turns it completely on its head. With a standard Blunami decoder, you get 90, that's right, 90 different whistles that you can play with. That's crazy to even think about. Not only that, you get a gazillion bells you can choose from, different rates you can set the bells for, different types of chuffs, different types of idles and compressor sounds. Heck, you can even change the coupler sounds. Like, you can change the different types of couplers you're using. I don't know why you'd ever want to do that, but it's an option, which is awesome to have. Not to mention, you can also be able to use wheel slip at any time that you want, be able to have different brake sounds, so a train brake or an independent brake. Heck, you can even get all aboard sequences or even crew chatter. The amount of features that come in a standard Blunami decoder is insane and would take too much time to even go over in just one video. But for the world of 3.0 scale, and especially the younger generation who loves customization and building unique models, this is a game changer. As you can see, I am super impressed by Blunami. There's a lot of potential, and the features there are things that we've been wanting or didn't know we even needed for such a long time. I'm hoping this inspires a lot of the other manufacturers to open their eyes to what's available in the market and other scales, and potentially bring it to the 3.0 scale market. Now, with that being said, I will admit, as awesome as and impressed as I am by Blunami, I will say there are a few drawbacks as well. As mentioned before, Blunami is a relatively new product, and out of the box isn't really designed to work with 3.0 scale. DCC and Blunami is meant to work off of DC power, and our 3-rail trains run off of AC power. But there is a way to work around that. All you need to do is add a bridge rectifier before you can connect it to the decoder. What does it do? Well, it converts AC power to DC power, so it works in conjunction with the decoder. If you got some basic wiring skills, or you're like Sid and you're comfortable with working your own trains, that's no biggie. However, if you're someone like myself, who is as mechanically and electronically inclined as a baboon, well... For someone like me who's more plug-and-play orientated, this might be a little bit intimidating. Though I will say, compared to other upgrades on the market, this is definitely an easier install. But if something like a bridge rectifier does scare you, then this might be something that might not be valuable for you, or you might want to find someone who could be able to do the upgrade on your behalf. I would love it if Soundtrack could make a plug-and-play style module that would be able to convert it from AC to DC, or be able to include a bridge rectifier already on the board, so it's a bit more viable for upgrades in the 3-row market. It definitely would make it a lot more accessible, and if it's more user-friendly, then we could see an increase in people switching to DCC in their new locomotives or existing projects. One more thing I'd like to add when it comes to Blunami is that currently, since it's so new, the only way to really put it in a locomotive is to put it in a locomotive that you're planning to upgrade in the first place. There is no way to buy Blunami in a locomotive pre-installed, so if you're the kind of person who wants to play with it before you get a chance to buy it, that might not be an option for you. However, when it comes to the world of upgrades, it is a very strong contender alongside ERR, Legacy, and DCS. The fact you get so much customization from just the app alone, and it's a full independent standalone control system, makes it a very strong contender. However, of course, it boils down to your own personal preference of what you want in a locomotive, and that's up to your personal taste in the end. Now, this final point can be the biggest point of contention when trying to promote DCC in 3.0 scale. In its current state, the Blunami system can only control 3.0 scale locomotives through the app using your smartphone or through your tablet. You can definitely control the decoder through other DCC available controllers such as Digitrax or NC PowerCab. However, the issue comes when you try to incorporate a third-party system like that into an existing layout with Legacy or DCS, such as mine. However, if you use a Bluetooth system like Blunami and use the app, then you don't have any issues since you're not controlling it through the track or through any hardware, you're using the Bluetooth system. I actually was able to try this out in New York at the NLOE, and that layout's huge. It's a layout that requires you to use radios to communicate with people on the other side of the layout. It's that large. And I was able to run the locomotives without any issue for several hours straight and not lose any connectivity at any point during the running session. So it's pretty rock solid. Now, as a person who doesn't mind using their smartphone to run trains, this isn't a big point of contention for me. However, I do understand a lot of people like to use their remotes from running trains to get away from using screens. So if that's something that you prefer to have, unfortunately that's not something that's available yet on the market. Again, it's not something that bothers me, but I can understand that's a preference you have when trying to run trains. What I would love to see introduced is a basic Bluetooth remote that can be used in conjunction with the app. Essentially, a throttle that would give you a thumb wheel or slider to control how fast the train's going, bell and whistle buttons, and maybe a couple function buttons as well. If the user wanted to be able to control their engine with CVs or specific settings, then they could definitely go on the app and use that there and leave the throttle for basic train operation. Kind of similar to something like Lionel's universal remote that you can use for Line Chief and Legacy engines. It gives you a bit of a more simplified control system without having to worry about looking at a screen or giving the alternative option if you want to use that when running your trains. It would definitely open up the market for a lot more people because when trying to talk to people about DCC, that's usually the point that most folks get stuck on when it comes to 3-rail. I think if they were to able to introduce something like that to the system, it would make it a lot more popular in 3-rail O-scale. Now with that being said, is that enough to dissuade me from using Blunami or DCC in 3-rail O-scale? Absolutely not. Blunami is still a relatively new product, and as of 2023, the large-scale version of the decoder had only debuted in March, so it's not even a year old yet. So there's plenty of room for growth and for development, and who knows, maybe we'll see more features to be incorporated into the 3-rail O-scale market. It's definitely a huge game changer though, because it gives us a lot more features and customization that we've never had before in terms of Legacy or MTH, so who knows, maybe some other manufacturers will take notice and we'll see some of those features be included in the coming years. We never know. Do I think this is at a point where it could replace Legacy or DCS in 3-rail O-scale? I don't think so, but it is a strong contender for an upgrade and definitely presents a lot of features that we definitely needed in 3-rail O-scale, so who knows, it might spark some new features and some much needed competition in terms of the market right now. I do ask that if George and the team at Soundtracks are watching this, that you guys maybe consider joining the 3-rail O-scale market, because your product is definitely something we've been needing for such a long time and is in demand from the younger community in terms of O-scale. The features, the customization, the huge collection of sounds, with people wanting to build unique and specific models in 3-rail, it's definitely something we'd want and would enjoy if you were to dip your toes into the 3-rail market. So I hope you consider this, and the future videos coming from myself and my other buddies who are interested in your product might persuade you to try jumping into the world of 3-rail O-scale. Now there's so much more I want to talk about when it comes to Blunami and DCC and 3-rail O-scale, but for the sake of time, I'll save that for a future video where I go over all the sounds and features that are available with the Blunami decoder in 3-rail. Now, if Blunami is a topic that interests you, definitely check out the latest episode of the Matt O-Scale podcast, where we have Sid on as a guest, and he and I discuss all our findings that we've had while playing with Blunami and our 3-rail O-Scale locomotives. A lot of good content there, and I'll leave a link to the episode down in the description below. Also, go to Soundtrack to any further questions about Blunami, because they are the experts and know the product a lot better than I do. Last but not least, we also have a cool project in the works with Sid, which is he's upgrading my MTH Proto 3 cab forward to DCC with all the smoke features you love from Lionel's Legacy locomotive. So if you're curious how that'll work out, or if you're curious on how it is when compared to a Legacy steam locomotive side by side, hit subscribe down below and hit the bell icon for notifications so you don't miss the train when it comes to the station. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope this is a topic that interests you, because you can tell it's definitely a passion project for me. If we can drum up enough interest, maybe we can change Soundtracks' mind and get some 3-rail O-scale versions of the decoders. But enough yammering for me, let's go run the train on the layout and see what sounds are available and how it compares. So, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Special, copy that. Out.